Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving into a professional betting strategy that completely flips the script on the bookies by using their own last-minute pressure against them to find some incredible value. And this is really the core of it all. For most of the game, you're the one feeling the heat, right? The bettor. But as that clock winds down, something fascinating happens. The pressure shifts. And according to some insider data, the final minutes of a football match are exactly when bookies get nervous and start to make mistakes. And that, right there, is our window.
So the real question is, what if you could actually exploit that last-minute panic? What if you could turn their biggest vulnerability into your greatest advantage? Well, let's break down exactly how it's done.
A lot of experts consider this strategy the holy grail of sports betting. And the crazy thing is, it's not about some complex algorithm or secret inside information. It all boils down to one simple but incredibly difficult skill: patience. Think about it like this. For the first, say, 70 or 80 minutes of a match, you're the one trying to predict what's going to happen. But in that final stretch, suddenly the bookie is the one sweating, desperately trying to manage their risk as that final whistle gets closer. The roles are completely reversed, and that's exactly where the opportunity lies. So why do bookies crack under pressure? It's not just about the ticking clock. It's about a fundamental psychological flaw, a bias that clouds their judgment when the heat is on. Okay, so here's the secret. Bookmakers, well, they fall in love with their own predictions. If they picked a team as a heavy favorite before kickoff, they are psychologically resistant to letting that idea go, even when the scoreboard is screaming a different story. And that creates this massive gap between what the odds should be and what they actually are. Let me give you a concrete example. Let's say a top team starts with odds of 1.50 to win. If the game is a total stalemate, 0-0 at halftime, logic says their odds should jump to around 2.50, right? But because of that bias, the bookie will do something strange and only offer them at around 2.00. They just can't bring themselves to fully admit their favorite is struggling. And this is the crucial point. Because they're so stubbornly refusing to raise the favorite's odds to their true value, the bookie has to balance their books somewhere else. And they do that by inflating the odds on other outcomes, creating what I like to call an artificial value pocket, just for savvy bettors like us. Now, these value pockets open up across different platforms, but to truly maximize them, you need the right tools. It's absolutely key. For example, if you were looking for a list of the best betting sites in your country with a 300% bonus, you can search for betplace.us in your browser. Having the right platform is really the first step to putting all this theory into practice. Okay, so all of this bias, this pressure, it all builds towards a very specific moment in the game. This isn't just about betting late. It's about betting at the exact right moment, a moment we call the edge point. This edge point, it's the breaking point. It's the exact moment, usually after the 80th minute, where the reality of the clock becomes just too much for the bookie to ignore. They are finally forced to abandon their bias and dramatically adjust the odds to reflect the real-time situation. That's when you strike. Now, here's the funny thing. This exact moment of opportunity is when most amateur bettors make a huge mistake. They see the odds on a draw getting lower and lower, they panic, and they throw a big bet on it out of FOMO, fear of missing out. They're betting on emotion while the professional is just getting ready to bet on pure value. All right, so you understand the why and the when. Now let's get into the how. What is the precise, actionable plan you need to follow to turn the tables on the bookie? Before we lay out the 3 steps, you have to remember that step 0 of any plan is having the right tools. Making sure you're set up on a trusted, high-value site is the foundation. So again, if you were looking for a list of the best betting sites in your country with a 300% bonus, just search for betplace.us in your browser. Okay, here's the simple 3-step plan. First, you identify games with a clear heavyweight favorite. Second, and trust me, this is the hard part, you do nothing but watch. If, and only if, the game is still a draw after that 80-minute edge point, you move to step 3. You place your bet on that favorite to win at odds that are now wildly inflated. And this just shows you the payoff. By waiting, you're not betting on a long shot. You're betting on a world-class team, now playing with desperation, having 10 to 12 minutes of all-out attack to score a single goal. And for that, you can get double, sometimes even triple their starting odds. That is incredible value. Now, you could apply this to the underdog whose odds will be astronomical. But that's a different game. It's a low probability, high risk approach that requires a huge bankroll to weather the losses. The professional strategy focuses on the favorite. It's a much more consistent, high probability path to finding long-term value. But here's the thing. Knowing the strategy is one thing. Actually executing it is another. The final piece of this puzzle isn't about numbers or odds. It's about what's going on in your own head. Ultimately, it all comes down to this. You have to remove emotion from the equation. The entire strategy is built on exploiting the bookie's emotional bias and the average bettor's panic. If you fall into the same trap, the entire edge just disappears. So here are the key mental takeaways to make this work. Your weapon is patience. Your homework is to simply watch games and observe how the odds move. Your rule is non-negotiable discipline to stick to the plan, and your goal is always finding value, not just picking a winner. So that's the last-minute betting strategy. It's a powerful combination of patience, observation, and discipline. The final piece of the puzzle is putting it all into practice, and for that, you need the right tools. As a final reminder, if you are looking for a list of the best betting sites in your country with a 300% bonus, just search for betplace.us in your browser. We've laid out the entire blueprint. You now have the knowledge that separates the average bettor from the professional. But the final question is one only you can answer. Do you have the discipline to actually use it? Thanks for watching The Explainer.